How do you explain? Can you explain any of this, or
Explain it?
Yeah, adding any kind of.
I think the reality it's very frustrating. It's frustrating for everybody. Frustrating for the players. Frustrating for the coaches. I know it's it's disappointing for the fans.
We just aren't playing very well. Happens we're doing that at home for sure. We've had a big run of home games that we haven't done it. So we just aren't playing well, and it's several things out there. It's not really the amount of the score at home. It's not really. It's just the way we're playing.
Well, it's at least a little bit the amount of the score. They have lost 6 consecutive home games going back to last year's playoffs and trailed by at least 20 points in all 6 of them. That had never happened to any team in NFL history before. And, Jeff, you were telling us earlier, inside the building, how brutal a time like this can be.
It is brutal. I mean, Pelotons that have been in offices are now getting shipped back home because the wife needs them, and the office doors are good. But you go in, there used to be full bookshelves. It like disappeared. You walked in. I know in my experience, I was like, "Hey, where did all the stuff go?" I'm just cleaning up. I'm just cleaning my office. Okay, we're all still good. It is deflating and painful.
So there literally is nothing left to be said about this year's Cowboys. You know, if there was, I'd want us to say it. Okay. But there's nothing to be said. Yeah. So all we can do is look to their future. And Dez Bryant, one of the great Cowboys of recent memory, is looking to the future. A12, Cindy, if you would please. He tweeted, "I'm Cowboys to the heart. If I'm the Cowboys, I'd fire everyone after the season. There's young, hungry talent in the upcoming draft. Also, I'd consider Deion Sanders as the next head coach." I've heard that so many times from so many different people and places. Yeah. Louis Riddick, you were a teammate of Deion's. You've known him for decades and decades, and you guys are close. This is certainly not the first time people are suggesting Deion back to Dallas. What do you think of that as a possibility?
The NFL needs and probably, I really realistically should want Deion much more than I believe Deion wants the NFL or needs the NFL. Okay, so he right now is in the driver's seat if there is legitimate interest in him. I don't know if the NFL is a great fit for him because of the way he wants to coach and what he demands in terms of player buy-in, player discipline, no second guessing the coach. Look, there's a lot of things with, and I don't want to stereotype every NFL player. And you're right. In the last block, Nick, you called me out on this, and you're right. Not every player does not want to be coached hard. There are players that want to be coached hard. And Deion, make no mistake, do not get fooled by the glasses, the gold chains, the change of outfits. This man is old school. And he's no nonsense. And he will tell you that. And if you go watch his football teams and watch how they practice, it's no nonsense. Yep. But I don't know if he wants to deal with the NFL right now. I don't know that. I'm not going to say definitively, but in my talkings with him, it would take a lot in order for him to leave the college game. It's going to take a lot for him to ever leave Colorado. Yeah. You see how they're playing right now? Yeah. You see how this football team looks right now? Why would you want to leave that?
They could get a bye. People will talk about the possibility of an opening at Florida State, which, of course, is his alma mater. So there's any number of different directions this thing can go. But, Dan, you and I have both been around the block long enough to know when the name is mentioned this many times, someone's talking about it somewhere. I'm hearing it everywhere I turn.
I mean, it's out there, and the Cowboy connection because he played there. Like, it all makes some level of sense. I still don't believe that it's likely to happen in Dallas because I don't believe that Jerry Jones wants a superstar coach that attracts that much attention. Jerry Jones is the face of the Cowboys, and he likes it that way. And I don't think that bringing in Deion Sanders is the kind of move we expect him to make. There's a different conversation to be had about it. Would Deion Sanders be a good NFL head coach, and would he be appealing to NFL teams? And I personally think that he might, because when you look at like what Jim Harbaugh is doing with the Chargers, right? Like NFL teams, they'll interview the hot offensive coordinator, but what they really want is a culture builder, a program builder, somebody that can come in and create something where there wasn't. And you look at what Harbaugh's done. You look at what Dan Campbell has done in Detroit, kind of an unconventional hire when they made it. I think Deion Sanders can certainly sell himself as that based on his track record in college.
That's the exact point that I think speaks to all the things that we're talking about. And the things that Louis is saying about certain teams and certain players, like it's real. And those are culture things. There are places where you play where some things are permitted and places where you play where those are not. So Deion, the problem with a lot of these bad teams is they have not had anybody, and the Cowboys in particular, is it's really hard to redirect the culture when the person who's setting the culture is the owner. And so when Dan Campbell comes in, he doesn't have to worry about anybody else. When Mike Mike Tomlin took over, the Rooneys don't say nothing. He had that completely under control. It's something that's consistent about all these places. Baltimore, the same thing. These places that have long-term track records of legitimate success in culture. It is because the person that they brought in to establish this culture does it, and there's no one going around them to the owner, going around them to the GM, and getting another message. And Deion may be capable of doing it somewhere, but it's going to be hard as hell of doing it to do it in Dallas.
No question. Look, he has the three things that he needs in order to be successful. I don't care what level of football that he was coaching. He has credibility. As soon as he walks in the door, he's instantly credible. He's competent in terms of coaching you in the X's and O's of the game, whether it be at the college level or at the pro level. And he will positively impact not only you individually, but the franchise overall. So he's going to help you make more money. He's going to help you be a better football player on and off the field. He's going to help all that. Any NFL team should be knocking down his door in order to get at some of that. The question for me, though, is in my conversations with him, does he want what comes along with being an NFL coach relative to being a college coach?
Yeah, I think he would want it in the right circumstance. And I think Dallas would be a great fit if it weren't for Jerry. And that's the problem. The problem when Dez put that text together is the person that you're talking about firing everybody. There's one guy who says everything comes through me, and it's not going to change. This is the way. Every decision is my decision. That anytime you're trying to be a head coach and someone is circumventing you to go to someone else, you are not the leader of the organization. And it doesn't matter. And as good as Deion is, he can be the greatest CEO in the world. He can be all those things. If your authority is usurped, you have no credibility in the locker room. It ends it right there.
I don't know is how important it is to Deion to want to go somewhere as a combination for them both to go to the same place. That's clearly not going to be Dallas with Dak's new contract. So if you're looking at places where that might happen, the Raiders feel like the place where that might happen. And oh, by the way, Shedeur is leaving little tiny breadcrumbs about that. Every time the Raiders lose, Shedeur tweets, "Thank God," which could just be coincidental, or it could be that he's sort of seeing that working. Tom Brady, Deion Sanders, Shedeur Sanders, two of the Raiders. A lot of things seem to be falling together there.
If you wanted to try and draw a pathway to him getting to the NFL, the Raiders would be the perfect organization for it. Because look, he is going to look in a good way. He is going to eat up all the oxygen in the room when he comes in. There's not going to be a whole lot left for people who demand their fair share, and that's okay. That's okay, because if you're around him, I say that in the most complimentary way, because I love the dude. I love the guy. He is so magnetic, and you believe what he is saying that you need to interview him. I think whoever, if a team has an opening, they need to interview him and talk to him.
That's something special about him, and there are pros and cons with every coach. It seems like the pros with Deion are unique to him. You can find other coaches that have great offensive schemes. There's a crop of them. You can find other guys who are great leaders, but there's one Deion Sanders, and we talked about this in the break. It's feel like modern NFL cool. Deion Sanders is the godfather of it. Everything about the culture of NFL is some way connected to Deion Sanders.
There you go.
But that don't mean he's gonna be a great head coach. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. None of us know that, and owners don't know that, or we wouldn't have Jeff here in a suit ready to take somebody's
But
spot.
it gives him a fighting chance walking in the door
There's
that
no
other
doubt.
guys don't have.
Do not.
Cowboy colors.
Can I just say this for
Lewis, final word.
Let me just say this to kind of wrap this up. Do not underestimate this man's ability to lead and coach.
No, not at all.
Okay?
Possible.
People get so caught up. The glasses, the jewelry, how he used to dance, how he used to high step from the 50. He's old school.
The dude's won at everything he's ever done.
There's a lot of people right now who are backpedaling faster than he can backpedal, trying to say, hey, look, you see what he's done to this program in Colorado.
He's proven it.
Okay.
He has there is something about him that young players today, people in their 20s, I know this because my son is one of them, they idolize him. I see this every week because I work with Randy Moss. When we get players on, current players who are not old enough to have seen Randy play, they talk to him like he's a deity. They're like, am I talking to Randy Moss? Like Randy is in that, and Deion is that kind of guy too.
I played against him. He is.
That's what I'm talking about. And so is Deion.